If you believe in what you're doing, don't be over anxious when you're signing your record deal because they're long contracts, and when you're stuck, you're stuck. Be patient. You don't have to sign your life away to the first guy that comes by with a contract.
Your wish comes true. You get offered a record deal. Two things. First of all, the record company itself, is it the right company? Is it who you want to be with? There's a whole world of consideration there. But then comes the hard place, which is the contract. And you absolutely have to read the contract. Problem is, number one, you won't understand it. Number two, you will completely lose your rag. You'll read this thing with rising horror at all the rights that you're giving up. You promise to give them even your pride in the music you're signing away. It's incredible. You read this thing and you're committed to them for this. They're committed to you for their best efforts. It drives you nuts.
The biggest mistakes that young people make is that they get into long or complicated agreements that they don't really understand and that they don't have the ability to either renegotiate or get out of because they signed them at a time when they simply didn't know any better. And these are real legal contracts, and you are stuck with them if you sign them early on. And there are plenty of big names that have had these problems, like Bruce Springsteen, like Billy Joel, like Michael Jackson, all had problems with early contracts that they signed. So the important thing is before you sign something, a legal document, be sure you get a lawyer to review it and look at it from your point of view.
Record companies are not the enemy. They are not trying to rob you, not everyone, and not all groups are artists, Some groups are hustlers, some record companies are hustlers. So you have to just base it on your own situation, get going, learn every day you possibly can, and have your ears open. Don't think that someone can speak for you. Your manager isn't you.
Contracts are the most insulting, annoying, depressing, terrifying documents that you will ever read, and also incomprehensible. But here's the problem. They're going to put lots of money into your band. They couldn't care less about your aspirations and dreams. They're going to put money into it. They need to be covered. So problem is you have to sign a contract. You have to give them something because they're giving you money. You have to give them something. It's unfortunate but true. You have to read this contract and sedate yourself for the exercise.
I do not believe just because you get a record deal that means you arrived. I've seen many examples of artists, and I've seen examples of artists who just because one company offers them a record deal, they say, okay, we're going to sign, we're ready, we've spent this much time getting ready, somebody's interested in us, and therefore we should sign with them. And I've seen too many examples of that being the wrong move. It's great if somebody's interested in you. It's fantastic. But you should really explore the various opportunities offered to you to see what really is the best record company for you. And then once you make a deal, once you start getting in the studio, the most important thing is make the right record. Make a great record.
I wish I hadn't been so naive. I wish I knew more about contracts and publishing deals. But to be honest with you, I don't think any musician, when they're starting out, they're so enthusiastic and they love what they do. The fact that they even get a gig or they get a record contract, I don't think it really enters their heads.
I didn't know much about the music business, and my interest really continues to be music. The music business is something that happens around you. I know a little more now than I used to, but often it can get in the way of the creative process. So I let professionals worry about the business. Nowadays,
the omnipresent lawyer is available. But even so, I still think people get cheated out of what they deserve when they sign their record contracts. They don't look at the fine print. They look at the overall picture, but the fine print needs to be looked at. And I wished that I'd known more about that in hindsight. I still had a pretty good career, but I've been swindled out of millions of pounds and millions of dollars.
If I'm stupid and I let someone else handle my business, it's all good for me, and it's never good. That's why we have a show called Behind the Music. So you think that you would learn from Ted Nugent or all these other people, but no one ever does. You can't just let someone else handle your stuff because there'll be nothing left. So that's all I say. Just pay attention to everything.
Artists can be all over the map in terms of understanding business. There are some people I've worked with who are extremely sophisticated, get into every detail of business, want to make all the decisions, and do it extremely well. There are other people that couldn't care less, don't want to know, and can't be bothered by it. And the important part, if you're one of those, is to have somebody on your team that will take care of it for you so that while you're making your art, you know your business is cared for.
They need to get the best lawyer and let the best lawyer do their job. And then they need to get the best business manager to watch the lawyer, to watch the record company, to watch the manager, and the attorney that watches. It's sort of like a triangle. And they're really not supposed to think about it, but set up a situation where each person has checks and balances, not unlike the government.
Well, it's hard for bands, and it's hard for people that start working in recording studios at 18 years old to actually have a business sense, unless they've got it from their parents somehow. You know, most people don't. You know, I didn't. And you have to learn that, but you have to make it an important thing to learn. You have to make it part of your life, and realize when someone's writing songs, it's a very difficult thing to actually learn the business aspect of something as well. So it's important who you pick as your manager, your business manager. It's important that you talk to different people and you get rid of the illusion that having one hit record does not make a rock and roll star.
As far as business, I mean, I think an artist needs to know 100% business. I mean, it's tough to work so hard and to see money come in and to really not know how much you're supposed to get. Everybody else is getting this and getting that, and you're not really getting anything at the end of the day because your contract that you signed was bogus. Because for one, you didn't read through it. I mean, the pages are like this thick, but I think you have to have a lot of knowledge in the business. I mean, loads of knowledge in the music business, or you just get taken advantage of.
What's different about it is that you've got this tension between business and creative forces, because every time you've got creative people, they're going to want to do what's best for the art regardless of cost. And whenever you've got business people, they're going to want to do within reason what's good for the artist, but they also have to be able to make a profit in order to survive and stay in business. And this type of tension is what fascinates me about the music business, is that I love being at the intersection of art and commerce.
The problem is that most artists always have their own view of the business as an artist. And having come from both sides of the fence, I think we understand both sides of how they look at things. I really think that the ones that can really sort of put all of that information into their mind and use it to help them as an artist and not hurt them, and try to think that they know it all because they can do both the business and the artistry, those are the ones where it usually ends up hurting their career. And I think that the ones who know enough about it and sort of trust the home that they're in are the ones that usually end up benefiting from the whole process.
The important thing is music, and you would play music on your own. You can play music on your own and learn from music and get a great deal of solace and satisfaction and spiritual experience from music without the business. The business is something that happens as a side effect of that. I think signing a record deal is a little bit like getting married. Your problems aren't solved by putting a ring on your finger or signing a contract. If anything, you have to solve problems every day, and it's an ongoing two-way relationship. You need to develop that relationship. The record company needs to trust you, and you need to trust them. And it's difficult, like marriage.
You don't let money persuade you. Let somebody persuade you that is looking for a career. And it's really hard to tell because you're blinded at the beginning and you don't know. And it is a crapshoot. But if your gut can tell you that one of these people that are interested in you are the ones, and you just feel like they're going to be there, even if you don't become successful right away, and you feel like you might have to learn more and do another record because what you've learned from the first record and what didn't work at the live shows and what went wrong, somebody that's going to go through the cycle with you and really be involved and really be behind you and really help it grow and happen, those are the people you can go with. And I can tell you there's not really any signs except for your gut instincts that will tell you who's who to go with. It's very confusing, and it's just like that. And there's a lot of people who are hungry for new bands.
A record contract is essentially a an agreement between two parties. The artist says, I'm going to make records, and the record company says, this is what I'm going to do to pay for them, to promote them, and so on and so forth. It spells it out for a period of time, and it's a very detailed agreement. When I started doing this, record contracts were maybe 19, 20 pages. Now they're over 100 pages. The world has gotten extremely complex.
All the deals are different. You can't say don't sign away all your publishing. You can't say sign away 50%. It all depends on the nature of the deal. I mean, it depends on the nature of the advance or how long it's for. So everything is so different. There are so many variables. You can't really say don't do this or don't do that. You do need qualified representation. That's the best advice I could give. And hopefully you have someone who represents other people and there's some precedent to draw from. And some experience, and that could be very helpful.
There are other things like that. There are management companies that take more than 20%. Average price is somewhere between 10 and 20%. If somebody wants more than 20%, run. If you've got any talent at all, trust me, you will find someone else to give you a better management deal. As far as the record side is concerned, there are many, many lawyers. Lawyers have become very popular.
The reality of signing a record deal is that a lot of the money goes to record the records, and if you're a group, of course, it gets divided up amongst 3 or 4 or 5 or how many people there are in the band, plus you have expenses. You've got to pay a lawyer and a manager and other people involved in your life, so there's an expense to doing business. Unless you've gotten an extraordinarily huge amount of money, and even then, by the time you've paid everybody and divided it up, it's not nearly as impressive as it seems. You don't get a lot of money from the early record deals, and you may even have to keep the day gig while you're recording, trying to survive.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. Here's the dumbest thing that I see bands do. They think record deal means I'm now a rock star. Record deal means you're just a guy with a record deal, and you probably won't have it in 2 months, so don't spend your money. But, I see bands, they get signed, they haven't made the record yet, they're driving around on their motorcycles.
It's the same as when you're looking for a manager, when you're going to a record company. It has to feel right for you. And it doesn't matter if that record company has, a million other hit artists. If it doesn't feel right for you, then it's not right. You have to go with what you feel inside and where you feel the most comfortable and where you feel that those people who basically have your career in the palm of their hand understand what you're about.
By signing with a record company that really believes in your stuff, that's a strong record label, you're going to get more money on the publishing side when you go to make that deal. That will probably more than make up for the money you're foregoing on the by not driving the bidding war or by not necessarily signing with the highest bidder.
I think that the important thing about a recording contract is that you know your worth outside, to other companies before you sign your deal with whatever company is offering you a deal. The best deal available is important, but the important thing also is to sign with people who are enthusiastic and will market and promote and develop your career properly.
I shouldn't say this on camera, but the funny thing is that when I was doing my that record contract, I got offers, and I don't want to say from who, but I got better offers from other record companies, and much better offers. I got 2 better offers that were a substantial amount, and that was just that's another example of not thinking with dollar signs, Because if I don't think with dollar signs, money's going to come in the future, no matter what. And just when I signed with Interscope, I just knew Jimmy. I knew Jimmy was the right person. I knew he was going to give me that artistic freedom that I wanted. And the funny thing is that if I would have signed with the other 2, they're not even there anymore.
It's a combination of the relationship and whoever. Sometimes the devil has the biggest check. Make sure you like the people, you feel good. Again, go through the roster. Say, okay, I like this act, I like that act, One thing about the music business, it's so big right now that you could always reach someone that has had experience with these different companies and just get some information.
I think the bottom line is just making sure that whoever it is that signs you has a pretty clear vision of who you are and will allow you to pursue that vision as opposed to directing you in a different way. And when I was trying to get signed, I was trying to get signed at a time when females were not desirable signings, and certainly female lyric-driven, sort of more rock and roll oriented musicians were not desirable. So it's a different time now, and I think it's just about finding your home and knowing that is the place for you and that those people believe in you.